Hello and welcome to ACS Golf and this week's review, where I finally decided to get my hands on one of these, the Ping G430 Max 10K driver. Released last year. Obviously we got the G440s this year. They'll be running into next year. I can imagine this might be replaced next year with a new sort of G440 10K Max maybe. I'm not too sure because this obviously came out a year later than the original G430 Max. And yeah, always want to get my hands on it because I've heard some amazing things about it. And now that it is a year old, now you've got the G440s out, you know, potentially maybe it's a right time to buy this and get it in your bag. I know it's a very, very popular driver and I know a lot of people have been playing it and probably still do play it. So yeah, really excited to test this out myself and potentially even to see if I want to put this in my bag over my QI35 core driver. Yes, the QI35 is this year's model, but believe me, it doesn't matter if it's this year or a couple of years old. If you find a driver that you like, it still could outperform the new stuff. That's definitely the case with this one. All right, so without further ado, as always, what we're going to do is we're going to have a closer look at this club, get back here, go through all the technology that's in it, get down to range, throw some figures at you, and then obviously come back here for the ACS Golf Scale and my overall thoughts about potentially the longest forgiving driver ever produced. All right, let's have a closer look at this club. So there you go, and I really like the looks of this actually. I've never thought Ping were bad looking clubs. I've always quite liked the turbulators, and even though that carbon fly looks a little bit weird, you know, it's not infinity like all the other ones that have carbon all the way up to the top, you know, I do like the look of it. I think it looks smart, and even though it is that massive head, which a lot of these 10K drivers are, you know, push as much weight as you can at the back to make that 10K MOI. I don't know why, but I think because the carbon's a little bit further back, you got the turbulators, it doesn't look massive behind the ball, even though this is a very big club. Well, big top surface area. Obviously, it can't be any bigger than 460cc because that's against the rules. But yeah, and the subtle colouring and everything like that, yeah, huge fan of the looks of this club. Now, going into the technology that is in this, as you'd expect, there is a ton. So, straightest, most forgiving ever. The fixed back weight, there you go, allows for the record-setting MOI as it drives mass down and back to increase forgiveness and optimizes the center of gravity positioning. Lowering spin and ensuring ball speed, preservation across the club face for added distance. So there you go, the idea is you can't move that weight, unlike the Max normal one where you can, to make that 10K MOI. However, I will say, I know in the G425, I'm not sure about the G430, but I can imagine it'd probably be the same. You can actually put the weight into that fade setting that actually did make it a 10K driver, or relatively right on the dot. So there was that option with obviously the other one. However, there's a little bit difference between this and the Max version. So I will discuss that in a second in this video. Moving on, you've got the carbon fly wrap crown. There you go. You had that on the LST version, didn't have it on the Max. This year I think it's on all the ones, the G440s, I'm pretty sure, you know, where they brought in that carbon fly, you know, so lighter crown here so they can move weight around in the club head. So an ultra lightweight composite crown wraps into the heel and toe sections of the skirt. Weight savings are relocated to lower the CG, reduce spin, and raise MOI for increased ball speed. And I'm just going to get on that spin bit now, actually. And that's the difference between this and the G430 Max. The G430 Max, relatively not high spinning club, but maybe mid spinning club, you know, definitely that forgiving, you know, club that it is, you know, trying to get my words out here, definitely that forgiving club that tends to spin a little bit more, which you tend to find with the really more forgiving clubs. But the difference with this is it had 10K MOI, but it was a low spinning monster. So you had guys who had really fast swing speed who wouldn't necessarily use the more forgiving clubs because, you know, they just spin too much, they'd be losing distance. With this, it actually kept the spin low, so therefore they could have that 10k MOI and have an absolute monster as well. So there you go. Largest profile, so Ping's biggest head profile to date, maximizes the USGA allowable heel to toe and front back dimensions while staying within the 460cc volume limit. This eye-pleasing shape helps square you to the target and inspires confidence to hit longer, straighter tee shots. I'll give you that. Down the range with this, you know, first time hitting it, just felt like I could really go for it. And I had to as well because I do play an extra stiff shaft. I do give you that, but you know, normally when I'm testing clubs, I tend to, you know, not maybe swing out my sock so much, you know, even though my swing speed is going up quite a bit, tend to use stiff. With this, 6.5 extra stiff. Mid spin to help me get it up in the air because this is only a 9-degree head. I normally do play a higher degree head to get it up in the air, but, you know, it just gave me that confidence to go, all right, I can swing as fast as I can, and I know I'm going to get really good performance, which I did, and we'll get into in a second when we get down to the range and get back here for the ACS Golf scale. So yeah, very confident, inspiring head, I'll give you that. You know, very sleek as well, because obviously they want it quite thin to get that weight at the back, but still club head isn't that small, the face, sorry. So yeah. Moving on, we've got thinner face with spin consistency. So the shallower and thinner forged T9S Plus titanium face is optimized for more flexing to ensure faster ball speed and relies on spin consistency. A variable roll radius innovation to optimize spin across the entire face for added distance. There you go. Adjust loft and lie. So trajectory tuning 2.0 utilizes a lightweight aerodynamic hosel sleeve that provides 8 positions to customize your trajectory for maximum distance and accuracy. You know, they're making these hosels lighter now, with the whole idea is that basically they can move the weight around the club head more. So adjustability, you can go up by 1.5 degrees, you can go down by 1.5 degrees. So this is a 9-degree head, I can move up 10.5 if I wanted to. I didn't do that, I kept it at that 9 degrees. We're keeping the neutral lie as well, which is important for me because it means that club face stays how it is. Sometimes if you loft clubs up, they tend to close it. Or vice versa, you know, they change that lie angle. This actually keeps it the same, which I like. You can loft it all the way down to minus 1.5 degree, and you do have that flat option as well. We can put up by 1 degree and down by 1 degree flat. So technically you play this 7.5 degrees. Be a real monster. Moving on, powerful sound. So the multi-material head sound is less muted and slightly louder than the G430 Max, give you a sense of even more powerful, satisfying tee shots. And that's going to help with the carbon there. You know, all titanium head, they can sound quite tinny. I've never been a huge fan of Ping noises. I think their drivers are some of the best out there. Well, you'd be a fool not to think they're some of the best out there. You know, they really are maximum forgiveness. You think of forgiveness, you think of Ping. But I've never quite enjoyed the sound because it has been that full titanium head. This is not that. So yeah, really, really cool there. Optional shafts are standard. You can get the Project X Hazardous Smoke Red RDX, which I have there, which you just saw. There you go. Love that shaft personally. Really enjoy it mid-spin. Helps me with getting the ball up in the air because I tend to come down on it quite a bit. You also get the Mitsubishi Kia L White, which launches lower. And then, of course, you've got all the Ping Altair CB shafts and etc. as well that come with it, which are really good quality shafts as well. All right, so there's all the technologies in this club. Let's get down to the range. Going to throw some figures at you, and then we're going to come back here for the ACS Golf scale. Oh, we will finish this video, I promise, and I will try and not make any further mistakes. Anyway, let's get down to the range and throw some figures at you. Here I'm down at the range with the Ping G430 Max 10K. Now let's jump straight into, well, some impressive figures. So on average, I had 248 yards carry. Total distance 275 yards, ball speed 166 miles per hour, launch angle 11 and height 69 feet. The longest actually on the day was a whopping 269 yards carry, 291 yards total distance, a ridiculous ball speed of 171 miles per hour. Not the only time I hit 171, to be fair. Launch angle 10 and height 83 feet. Really got the spin and everything right on that one when I swung extremely hard for it. Shortest though, and this is what's even more impressive to be fair, was 239 yards carry, so only 9 yards short than the average. Total distance 267 yards, so only then again 8 yards short of the average, and 160 miles per hour ball speed, launch angle 9 and height 59 feet. So the grouping of this was really impressive. It's actually 71% consistency per the range, which is just insane. And the only reason it wasn't any higher than that was because of that whopping one that was 291 yards. Everything else was so close and bunched together. You know, it was really impressive numbers and a great performance from the club. Workability wise, you could work it a little bit, but it is a bigger club, but it is very impressive and felt great as well and sounded great. Here's the numbers in the tables for you guys, by the way. You can see there and just see the shorts there and just see how forgiving this thing really is. A lot of fun to hit, and just a really enjoyable club overall, which is definitely maximum forgiveness and some absolute storming distance. Performed really well. So what can I say? Absolute monster, and really enjoyed hitting this. And one thing I enjoyed the most about it is the fact, you know, when you go down to the range, it gives you that sort of consistency where the ball's going. 71% I had with this. That is really good. And the only reason it's actually a bit lower than 70, well, it's at 71% and not higher, sorry, is because of that absolute monster I got, which was 291 yards. Without that, it was so consistent, even with me swinging my socks off. You know, really impressed by it. Even though the shots maybe a little different little shapes, maybe one was maybe a draw and the other one was a fade, etc. When I'm really going for it, they all ended up relatively in the same place and that same distance, you know, around that 270, 275 mark. Really pleased with the consistency of this club. Very impressive. So just to, you know, go through those numbers again, as I mentioned, 248 yards carry on average, 275 yards total distance, whopping ball speed of 166 miles per hour, launch angle 11 and height 89 feet. Maybe, you know, I should have lofted this up 10.5 to help with that launch a little bit more to really maximize the distance, but still really happy with those numbers. And as I mentioned, longest on the day, to be fair, even though it was only launch angle 10, you know, 269 yards carry, whopping 291 yards total distance, and probably one of my fastest ball speeds of the year so far, 171 miles per hour. Ball speed, 10 degrees and launch and 83 feet. And the worst hit was, you know, carry 239, drop of, well, not even, well, 9 yards. That's nothing. You know, total distance 267, drop of even, well, what's that? Calculate on 8 yards. You know, ball speed did go down from 166 to 160. That's a little bit of a drop, but it still got the distance. You know, really impressed by those numbers. You know, just awesome, really good. So yeah, you go. Great club. Anyway, let's get into the ACS Golf scale now. So remember, we've got 5 categories. We've got distance, feel, looks, price, and forgiveness. 5 being the best, 1 being the worst. Now, distance, yes, those numbers are brilliant. The ball speed is brilliant. However, I have hit low spin drivers this year further. I've been doing played with the Cobra DS Adapt LS for quite a bit, and I was topping up that sort of 300 yard mark. Don't get me wrong, I think on the right day I could get this 300 yards, but I definitely think those LS versions have maybe a little bit more, you know, the sort of longest ones. You know, we're talking about the, I don't know, your GT4s, your TaylorMade LSs, you know, your Ping G440s, you know, LSTs, you know, your I'm trying to think of anyone else. Cobra I've mentioned, you know, just all the basically the low spin monsters out there. I think just have a little bit more distance than this, but just a tiny bit, really, because I'm still going to give it a 4.5 out of 5 when really I sort of want to give it a 5, and probably on another day I should be giving it a 5, but I just feel like it's not quite there in the category of the LST models. It's not supposed to be. Ping didn't bring this out to be longer than the G430 LST. They didn't. You know, they brought this out to be as long as a forgiving driver can be. So even though it was really impressive, I think it's just shy of those numbers. So that's why I'm giving it 4.5. But with those numbers, I feel like maybe I should be giving it 5. But then it is down to the fact that I felt because of all the forgiveness, I could swing as hard as I could. So out the middle, I think, yes, as I mentioned, those LST versions I think like triple diamond, Callaway triple diamond, that's the one I'm thinking of, you know, the elite triple diamond or anything, you know. I got the triple diamond S here. I know if I nail that out the middle, that is going to go further than this. However, overall in the average, this is going to go further than that. So that's why I'm giving it 4.5 and not giving it a 5, because I think out the middle, it's not going to be quite as long as the LSTs. Some of you guys out there might not agree with me. However, overall, it is very, very, very impressive. So yeah, I'm giving it 4.5 out of 5. And maybe, yes, I maybe should be giving it a 5, but I'm going to stick with that just because I feel like for pure power, the LST versions would win. And one thing, well, I don't know where it is. I do have it somewhere. I think it's here somewhere. Is it? Just going to mutter to myself while I'm looking for it. I have it somewhere. I don't think it's in here. I think it's over there. You know, the sim. I have the original TaylorMade sim, and I know that out the middle original TaylorMade sim will still go longer than this. It will. So yeah, 4.5. There we go. I'm sticking to it, even though I feel a bit harsh giving it. Moving on to feel 4.5. I love the feel of this. I really enjoyed that more muted sound with this carbon fly, you know, sort of cover over the top of it. I knew where my mishits were. It just feels powerful off the face. It's a lovely feeling driver and it's fun to hit. So for me, I'm giving it 4.5 out of 5. Yeah, I can't get it a 5 out of 5 because it doesn't feel like a Titleist, doesn't feel like a Mizuno or a Cobra. For me, those are the 3 best ones you can be hitting. Maybe even, you know, the new carbon, you know, face on the TaylorMade, to be honest, I think real nice. But don't get me wrong, it feels lovely. You know where your mishits are, and it's great, and I love the sound. So yeah, 4.5 from my perspective for feel. Looks wise, I'm giving it a 4.5. I still think it looks fantastic. The only reason I'm not giving it a 5 out of 5 is I've always much preferred those sort of smaller sort of players' heads. I just have, even though I play the QI 35, which is out here itself, I just, personally for my eye, I just like a little bit of a smaller profile behind it. But overall, it is still fantastic. So yeah, 4.5 out of 5. Now, forgiveness. Shock horror, I'm giving this a 5 out of 5. Just can't. I mean, those numbers speak for themselves. The average is so good. The consistency was so good. The ball flight and everything like that. Even, you know, they just all finished in relatively the same place. And I could swing. And I was swinging hard. And you can see in my videos, you know, that front foot's coming up to help me rotate even more. And I'm coming down as hard as I can on this thing. And it's performing really, 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 really well. I mean, to be honest, just what we're going to say now, you know, would I put this in a bag 9 degree? Probably not, because I prefer that little bit launch with a 10.5. If I had this in 10.5 degree, and I'm going to keep my eye out, to be fair, I might put this in a bag. I might put it in a bag next year, to be honest, because, you know, I like to change things up every now and again, and believe me, I can just swing for it, and it's brilliant. So yeah, really, really good forgiving driver. 5 out of 5, not even a question in my mind about that rating, 100%. Now on to price. So price is a bit of a stickler with this one, really, because it holds its value. As you'd expect, it's the first time this sort of club has been released by Ping. It's not like, you know, the Ping G4, you know, the LST versions, you know, then in the LST version, you go, well, I could get the 440 this year, or I could get the 430 from last year that had carbon fly, or maybe even just get the 425, you know, the cheaper one. There's a lot of options out there. Normal max one, or I can get the G410, you know, or maybe the G400, to be fair. You know, that thing was ultimate forgiveness as well, nearly a 10k driver itself, you know, and you got that movability with the G410, with the G425, G430, and there's loads of options for it, well, including the SFT, so the straight flight technology. This is the first club that Ping has done like this, so they haven't brought a replacement for it yet. I assume they will do next year. So until then, it is holding its value, because it's technically, and I could have maybe done this review on Friday, to be fair, it is the still current model, even though it's a G430, because of that max 10k. So there you go. So pricing is exactly as you'd expect. So that's why I'm giving it a 2.5 out of 5. On eBay, it's still looking around 330 to sort of 360 pounds, which is what, just under 5, well, around, actually I've seen one there, 380 pounds, you know, which is around what, $520 all the way down to around $450. I mean, don't get me wrong, every now and again you'll find a good deal, but that's just any sort of the general sort of price of it. Golf Bidder, which is a second-hand store in the UK, pretty battered one, you know, £375, which is about $500. Brand new, £449. In the US, it's actually $449 as well. You know, so it's a little bit cheaper than the G440s, which is retailing around £529 at the moment. But you can see that just in the second-hand market. Brand new, £449, and you're only losing about 100 quid off this at the moment. They're that popular still that the price is only dropped by sort of 100 quid. The TaylorMade QI35 there, you know, we're retailing for £500 today. You know, next year that's going to be around 300. It's going to be around 250. You know, that's going to drop quite drastically because you can have a brand new model out. This hasn't been replaced yet technically, so therefore the price of it, and because it's Ping as well, it's a ridiculously popular model because it won so many awards, so many reviews, it's holding its price very well. So I could even give it technically a lower than 2.5, but for me, it's exactly what I'd expect this club to be. And I know if you buy it, you won't be disappointed by it. And you probably won't lose that much value in it either. You know, if you buy it, don't like it, probably sell it for exactly the same amount that you want because there is that demand there. So there you go. All right, guys. Now, as I mentioned before, I will not be putting this in my bag though, just to finish up, just because it's that 9-degree head. But it's so close, very close call. And I might still change that, but I do love my QI35 with a Valcor Ventus shaft in it. Food for thought though. I haven't quite decided yet, but anyway. So there you go, guys. There's my review of the Ping G430 Max 10K. It did not disappoint. Loved this. Loved the fact I could really go for it. Really enjoyed it. It is an amazing driver, and if anyone wants amazing distance with that low spin and that forgiveness, here it is. You know, in my mind, the longest forgiving driver ever produced so far. And if you don't believe that, or you have a different opinion, let me know down in the comments down below, because I'd love to know if you think there's a more forgiving driver out here. Well, same forgiveness, I'd say, not more forgiving driver than this, but goes longer. I'd love to know in the comments down below. Also, remember, if you enjoyed this video, to give it a like, and also do remember to subscribe to the channel and hit that bell icon so you do not miss out on weekly ACS Golf reviews such as this and more. New stuff, old stuff, we got it all. Lots and lots of clubs to do. As you can see behind me, you know, this isn't a collection, this is stuff to review. Anyway, guys, I'll see you soon for the next ACS Golf review. See you then. Bye-bye.